I had tried several places, several monasteries around the country, and I could find no place, I could find no priest or religious around the country who could understand my vocation. And then I just came almost, you could say, to the last door closing. And I remember I just sat down on the side of a bed and I just cried. From the depth of my heart, I cried and I said, look, Lord, what do you want? I'm really tired now. I want to know where you want me to be or what you want me to do in life. I just felt like Elijah in the desert when he was going through the desert, and he felt like just giving up, lying down and dying. But then also like Elijah, I also all of a sudden got strength, enlightenment, because just then I received a revelation to understand the deeper meaning of my vocation. Up until then, I had seen my vocation as something to be attained. I was walking a journey and I was hoping to reach my destination at some particular point on the journey. But what I realized there and then was the journey was the destination. I had hoped in some way in all those years that I was searching, I had hoped that maybe I could find a hermitage where I could begin to become a hermit. And then it was like as if the Lord said to me, what is wrong with you? You want to become a hermit, but don't you know I have been making you a hermit? I've been forming you to be a hermit all through your life, and you are a hermit. The fact that you are misunderstood, the fact that you are experiencing this loneliness of being misunderstood, the fact that you are walking on a trackless journey like the desert that has no proper road. This is the real essence of the hermit life. It's sharing in the loneliness of Christ.
Now, having reached the top of Croagh-Patrick, especially today being the feast of our Lord's Ascension, it's appropriate, I think, for us to think a little bit about the role of mountains in the life of our blessed Lord. That Jesus himself often went away to be on mountains, to be on his own, to pray. He found it a place where he could get away from his work, from his ministry, and from the crowds who were always after him. He also, as we know, our Lord, at a difficult moment in his life, he went to the top of a mountain with his closest friends.
When I started to live the solitary life on my own back here in Ireland, I experienced a time of terrible, terrible temptation, and I got all these temptations to say, give all this up, go back into a monastery and do all these things. And I wrote to another hermit, it's very important to get advice. And she told me to stay put, that it was a temptation. And within 2 or 3 weeks, of course, it left me when I prayed really, really hard. I prayed continuously, and it left me the temptation. And I recognized it then that it was just a temptation. So there are moments when you do really feel you can't carry on. But God gives you the grace if you're faithful to prayer. We can do nothing on our own. We need God constantly to help us. So especially a spiritual experience like that, of confronting your own inner nakedness, if you like, is just too dreadful and too shocking. So God gives you the grace to come through those moments.
What form did it take, this confronting yourself? What were you saying to yourself? What was actually going on?
Just the horror of what I am. just the memories of sins in the past, things that you've done as even a child come back to you. And I suppose you feel rather filthy, like a dirty rag that you've been washing the floor with for years and years and never washed it. And that's what you get, a sudden longing desire to be purified and to be freed from all of this filth and dirt. And you know, if you don't turn to Christ again, you can get very turned in on yourself and say, oh, look, I'm really finished now. I'm all of this thing. There's no point in me carrying on, you know. But that's the moment to turn to Christ.
She tested her vocation in community a number of times, I know, and then she tested it in solitude. And then when she was reasonably satisfied, she approached me. Now, I had never had dealings with a hermit before. I didn't know what to do. I thought that hermits belonged to another age, another era, that it was a desert culture, and suddenly I was confronted by a hermit. So I really didn't know what to do, and I hesitated. And so I deferred the decision, partly because I didn't know exactly what I should do, partly because I wanted to test her credentials, her vocation, her persistence and tenacity and determination. And she was tenacious. And so she came back at me forcibly, and we corresponded, and I kept putting her off. And then I met her, and we discussed it, and we talked it through, and I was impressed. And I was impressed too by what she had written. And then I consulted. I talked to people who knew her. I talked to people who were in a position to observe her lifestyle. And then I said very humbly, and believe me, I said humbly because I couldn't do it. I think you have to be very strong and brave to undertake something like that. We fixed a day when she would come within the Mass, within the Eucharist, and profess before me, the bishop in the local church, when she would take vows of poverty and chastity and obedience, and when she would promise to live her life, her particular life, within the guidance of the local church, according to the guidance, if you like, of myself. So, what convinced me? Oh, I think the purity of her intention, and that she didn't seem to want anything except to devote her life to God and to prayer, and that she just wanted to live in utter simplicity and frugality. That impressed me.
Do you think she'll stick with it?
I do. I do. Because she's made of stern stuff. She's not a sentimentalist. And she's not a romantic kind of rushing back to nature. You know, she seems to have fixed her eyes very definitely on her God and on her objectives. Well, I think she will. I think she'd stick it.
Oh, no. Sugar. You've got no manners. Ah.
Do you think the religious community is out of touch then with what is needed of them?
I think they definitely have to go back to their roots. That's what's wrong, is I think they have just gone too far ahead. They have to just look again at their roots and return to their roots. And I think the hermit life is an example for them, that the hermit life is where they grew out of, and the hermit life is actually growing in the church. So like this is their roots, the hermit life. And if they are going to survive, they must bring back prayer into their community and silence that enhances prayer.
Sister Irene has a vision. She believes she should make it possible for others to share her vocation. She envisages a community of up to 12 hermits who will live in this landscape alongside her, in solitude and prayer. She has faith the money will come.
You don't think it'll kill it?
Not at this stage, no. Not at this stage, not after 6.5 years, no.